I would first like to introduce Dena Wiggins, who is our representative from the natural gas arena and a wonderful speaker and a wonderful leader in the industry. She's going to discuss what are the new sustainable improvements in the gas industry, and her bio, of course, gets into greater details of her remarkable background. Dena, your turn at bat.
Okay, thank you, Sheila. Thanks for having me here today. I think we can't start talking about natural gas without start talking about the good story of that we can tell for natural gas. If you move to the next slide, please. Now we have an abundant supply of natural gas. We have over 3,000 TCF of recoverable reserves in the ground, and this story itself is a technology story because it's the shale revolution. Those yellow bars that you see are the additional recoverable gas resources due to the shale revolution. And my members tell me that this is not over. You know, this is not a static number. Someone recently asked me, well, that looks like it's about 100-year supply of gas. Does that mean we're going to run out of gas in 100 years? No, because history shows us, and this chart shows us, that every time the Potential Gas Committee does their review of our natural gas resources, we are able to continue to improve our ability to get gas out of the ground and to distribute it to consumers. Currently, we are producing about 89, 90 BCF a day. 10 or 11, somewhere in that range, is going to LNG exports, and about 6 Bs a day are going to Mexico through pipeline. So we have an abundant supply in this country. When the pandemic hit, I think there was some concern that we were not going to be able to continue to produce at this level just because of what was going on in the world and people pivoting to working remotely. And in partnership with Platts, they allowed us to put on our website daily information about the level of production. So if you want to check on that, you can go to our website and check on it every day. That Platts is still allowing us to publish that data. And it shows the sustainability of the industry, that we have been able to pivot and to continue to supply natural gas to U.S. consumers. As others have talked about, there is a national, really international conversation going on about a cleaner energy future. If you could go to the next slide, please. A number of states and cities and localities have set fairly aggressive climate goals of what they want to do to clean up their energy resources. And this chart, by the way, is hard to keep up to date because people are adding things to it almost weekly, monthly. But some of these states and some of these localities have fairly aggressive climate goals. And we are also very much in support of a cleaner energy future. I think that sometimes what gets left out of this conversation, but did not get left out of the conversation in the prior panel, I was happy to hear, is a similar emphasis on reliability, affordability, and resiliency. And I think we've got a tough challenge here. It's tough for my friends, the regulators, who are going to speak after me, that are going to really have to oversee how this gets done. But I think we need to keep our eye on what we're doing today to power this country and what we need to be doing in the future to clean up our energy supply. And it's hard, and everyone is working on this. There are lots of interesting things that may be on the horizon. Better battery storage, better use of hydrogen. All of these things are exciting, but we also have to keep in mind that in the here and now, we need to power this country. And both for now and into the future, we think that natural gas is a partner in this pursuit of a cleaner energy future. We believe that natural gas, and we think it's been demonstrated, is a good partner to renewables. There's some intermittency with some of the renewable resources. We think we can balance off that intermittency. So it's almost like you need three eyes. You need one eye on what's going on now, one eye on the technological innovations, and one eye looking ahead to where we are trying to get to. Now, if you could get to the next slide, please. Of course, for us to be able to deliver our products to consumers, we need natural gas pipelines. And there are over 300,000 miles of interstate and intrastate natural gas pipelines. It has, as everyone knows on this call, it has become increasingly difficult to site natural gas pipelines. I think we in the industry need to do a better job of telling our story and of talking about the benefits of natural gas, again, both now and into the future. It is abundant. It is relatively affordable. There's a state commissioner in New Jersey who often reminds me that affordability is in the eye of the beholder, which I certainly understand that. But there is an abundant supply. It is relatively available, and it is a domestic product. And I think that as we plan ahead for our energy future, we also need to keep in mind that the role that natural gas can play. If you could go to the next slide, please. Just as part of our commitment, and our members truly are committed to a cleaner energy future, they are doing a lot of really interesting and innovative things. And I'll talk about it in terms of what they're doing now, what they're doing a little bit into the future, and where they initially or ultimately hope to get to. But right now they're targeting emissions intensity reductions of 40 to 45%. They are investing billions in renewables and lower carbon resources. They're investing in CCUS. They've got certification programs underway to talk about and to have some way to prove that their production is responsibly done. There's some carbon neutral LNG cargoes that are being put in place, a way to tag the LNG exports. And there's a huge reliance on drones and other sorts of technology so that leaks can be detected and remedied as quickly as possible. So we are a partner in this. There's so many projects that our members are involved in that we don't have time for me to detail them all today. But if you would like to take a look at our website, there will be a lot more detail on our website about what various and assorted folks are in our membership are doing. And then looking at one step ahead of that, if you could go to the next slide, there are other initiatives that people are undertaking. For example, Shell expects to provide enough renewable electricity for 50 million homes. Chevron is in partnership with Getting to Zero, and they are trying to work on commercially viable deep sea emissions, zero emissions vessels to be used in operations. There's CCUS technologies that they are investing in and are working on. ExxonMobil is working on the CCS hub in Houston, and they expect to be able to capture and store about 100 million tons of CO2 by 2040. Shell also is seeking access to additional 25 million tons a year of CCS capacity by 2035. So, as I said, some here, some now, and some into the future. If you go to the next slide, please. What they hope to be able to do, and this is a bold ambition, is to get to net zero emissions by 2050. And all of us on this call have been working with energy policy for a long time. There's never anything that is easy about energy policy. Some of us have grappled with it for longer than others, but it's always hard. When we talk about power markets or you talk about energy policy in general, it's hard. There are a lot of smart people that are working on this. There are a lot of innovative cutting edge technologies that our members are looking at and investing in. And I think we just have to work together to try to reach this goal. We are not against any other fuel. We believe that, and it's sort of become a trite phrase, but we do believe in the all of the above approach, that there is a role for many different fuels as we try to reach a cleaner energy future. And as I said before, we think natural gas is an important part of that discussion and an important part of reaching that cleaner energy future. Sheila, I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dana. What has been your reaction? What is your continuing interaction with the with the Biden-Harris administration? Is there continuing dialogue with DOE and with other players at the table from the government side?
Yes, and we're hopeful that, again, looking at this pragmatically, because I think we have to be pragmatic, that the administration recognizes and will continue to recognize the important role of natural gas, particularly as the U.S. does and tries to continue to position itself as a global leader. Natural gas is not only important here in the U.S., but as we have this conversation internationally, LNG can be very useful in helping other countries that are trying to lower their emissions and trying to switch from whatever it is they're using now to a cleaner energy future. So we think that we can go hand in hand with the Biden administration on this.
Do you see a future where the exports of LNG would continue apace and continue to be such a major input into the U.S. economy?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, imports into the U.S. or
No, imports that are going to other countries from the U.S.
Yes, I think that we will continue to see that increase. We saw a little dip in the early days of the pandemic, and I think it went down to something like 4 or 5 BCF a day, but that's recovered. We're back up to 10, 11 BCF a day. And I think our member companies and others are very committed to continue to play in that global marketplace. So I see that continuing.
Do you see, as the nuclear plants continue to age out and are put aside, do you see natural gas being a primary filler in context of also obviously from the renewable side?
Yes, I mean, as I said, there's abundant supply. So if
Sure.
the nuclear plants are forced to shut down, then I do think that the natural gas will be standing by, ready to help fill that gap. Again, we're not anti-nuclear, so one of the things that we had supported was a price on carbon as a means to reach a lower carbon energy future. That's unfortunately not part of the national dialogue right now, but our tagline is we believe in markets. We just want an opportunity to compete.
Sure.
We thought a price on carbon would give the right incentives to incentivize technology, to incentivize people to invest in technologies that would result in lower carbon. Of course, nuclear is a good fuel when it comes to low or zero carbon. But as I said, that's not part of the dialogue now, but we'd be happy to engage in that dialogue if there's an opportunity.
Sure. Do you think in circumstances where because of the storms, interruptions, et cetera, and the impact and just climatological change vis-a-vis hydro production, among others, do you think natural gas is sort of the natural step-up source in these circumstances?
Well, it's certainly abundant. So yes, I mean, again, I think we're just standing ready to help. And the disruption in the winter storms, I think probably one of the later speakers can talk to this better than I can. NERC and FERC are in the middle of an inquiry as to what happened and what we could do to try to mitigate that in the future. I expect there'll be a lot of follow-on discussion and process about that. That was obviously a tragic situation, particularly in Texas. It was record cold weather for a extended period of time. I think the temperature in Houston then was like 13 degrees and the average annual temperature there is 56. So
Sure.
We'll have to figure out what we can do to mitigate that. And our member companies spent a lot of time working with FERC and NERC and responding to questions about what did happen. And I expect NERC's and FERC's report will come out here in the next month or so, and we'll see what recommendations they have to try to make things better going forward.
Thank you so much, Dena. Very, very useful overview and very thoughtful, I think, in understanding how this big three-dimensional chess game is being played. Thank you, Dena, so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.